Welcome to the Church Solutions Podcast, brought to you by JSL Solutions. The Church Solutions Podcast is designed to help equip you and your church in the use of technology and other tools and services. And now, here are your hosts, Steve Lacy and Phil Thompson.
Welcome to another edition of the Church Solutions Podcast.
Hi, my name is Steve Lacy.
And I'm Phil Thompson. Always try to sound up in a...
Yeah, you got to smile when you're talking, huh?
You know what? It really is. As you know, I used to do broadcasting and teach a broadcasting class, and I always told people when you talk on the microphone, smile, because people can hear your smile.
All right. Well,
and I think you and I were talking a couple of years ago when we started doing this. Some of our podcasts sound like we were on Valium or something. It sounded like really low-keyed or something. I don't know, Xanax or something. But anyhow, we're happy to be here. My name is Phil Thompson. He's Steve Lacy, and we do this podcast on a regular basis. We're a company that is technically a tech company. We do streaming video, mobile apps. What else do we do? Church management stuff. We've got some other things in the cooker, but we really do this podcast. Why?
To serve ministries. Our heart is for ministries, and so we've been involved in ministry and kind of talking about some of the issues that we come across. And
yeah, so, it's not just tech. I mean, it's leadership stuff. It's volunteer work. We do love churches, and that's what we do for a living.
So what's on our agenda for today?
Well, I thought today, we've been interviewing a lot of different people. We'll have somebody next week, but I thought today we would take some Q&A when it comes to streaming video, since that's a large part of what we do for a living. And we get a lot of questions, as you might imagine, when it comes to streaming video. And so I've compiled a few here. We probably won't get to them all, but a few of some of the common ones and maybe not so common questions with streaming video. And so as you listen to this podcast, if you're interested in streaming video, this might be helpful. If you do streaming video, this hopefully will be helpful, and if you don't, some of this might be basic at the beginning, but keep listening. You can always fast forward, right? That's the beauty of a podcast. You can always
you can always learn something here, even with some of these basic questions.
Yeah, absolutely. You can go fast forward. We got some other ones that may not be quite as common, so we'll see if we can get to those. But if you're even thinking about streaming video, or if you're doing it, hopefully this will be helpful to you, either as a pastor, a volunteer, involved in your church. So let's just jump into it when it comes to some of the questions that we commonly get with streaming video. And some of these answers have changed, I think, over the years a little bit because of technology changing. And here's one question that we get very common, and that would be, what kind of computer should I use for streaming video? If I want to do streaming video, what should I use? Steve?
And we're not talking about whether I should use a Mac or a PC, though.
Well, let's address that real quick, because I get that question as well. Mac or PC?
Right. So I guess it goes with your user preference.
All right.
So either one will work just fine if you're more comfortable with a Mac and feel more strongly about the Mac. I mean, Mac's kind of got their. I'm come from the Mac side because I do have a Mac, and they're kind of geared towards media tools.
Right.
And I'm not a big Windows fan, so...
You don't love Windows, do you?
No, I don't love the viruses that come with Windows.
Well, and that's something to consider, too, because with Macs, you usually don't get that kind of stuff.
The hassles are much... Yeah. You spend much less time trying to get your computer to work when you're using a Mac, or my favorite, Ubuntu on a
Ubuntu, an operating system which is kind of like Linux, I guess, right?
It's Linux-based, yeah.
It's Linux-based, and so, but you do have some limitations with that as far as software. But let's move on here, though. Okay, so when it comes to a computer, though, let's talk a little bit about the resources of a computer, because back when we started to do streaming video 7-8 years ago, you didn't have that many different encoders. They didn't use a lot of resources. And so normally what we used to always tell people was, well, as long as you have a computer that's fairly healthy, you could probably do streaming video. But those times have changed a little bit.
A little bit. And you and I think, have a little bit different ideas on this. So The encoders have definitely, it used to be that there was one encoder or two encoders, and that's all you pretty much had a choice of. Now there's more encoders, and some of them are more CPU intensive than others.
Right.
So depending on which encoder you're using and what you're doing with that encoder, we now have the ability to send out multiple streams and encode multiple streams and record streams, and so you can have the encoder do a whole lot more work than it could years ago.
Right. And so when it does more work, it's going to use more resources from your computer.
Yes.
So you really need to have a good processor. And I understand, okay, you're just starting out, and I'm not going to do that much, so I can get by with maybe a dual core processor maybe, and maybe go with 1 gigabyte or something. But I honestly, we've pushed a lot of people to vMix and Wirecast, although that's not the only one out there as far as live encoders. But like vMix, for instance, they recommend you get something like an i7 processor, 3 gigahertz. They recommend 8 gigabytes of memory. They recommend solid-state disk, and that's what they recommend if you're going to do what you just said, multiple things with that encoder.
Right.
So you're recording as well as streaming.
Right. And one of the things with these newer encoders is they put front and center the CPU load and your upload health right there on the encoder as you're encoding. Right. Yeah. So you can see, you don't want your CPU load to get up into the 80% and above range. So, and the more streams you send, because now we have adaptive bit rates, and people say, I want to stream to Facebook and I want to stream to my church website. Mm-hmm. So you're increasing the load, and we're starting to see more and more customers that are having issues, and we say, hey, well, what's the CPU load on that vMix show? And they go, it says 98%. I go, well, there's your problem.
100%. Yeah. So I think my advice would be to, obviously budget is a big factor here, but if you can, and computers they're less expensive now than they used to be for the most part. So I would definitely go with what you can as far as a good, healthy memory, a good processor, and solid-state disk. I really do like the solid-state disk drives.
As I migrated from a spinning disk to a solid state, that was an amazing improvement in performance.
Difference, and so I would do that. So anyhow, with the way things are going today, the more is, I think, probably a little better if you can afford it. If you can't, there are some other things you can do.
And there's still, that doesn't mean that if I'm an entry-level person, I'm going to send a single stream out, that I got to go buy a brand new computer in order to do this. You can definitely get your feet wet and just see what the CPU monitor is as you stream. For a lot of people, they're going to find that what I have is completely adequate.
Right. So this may be a question that many of our listeners already know, but we get this a lot with newer customers that have never streamed before. Moving on to the next question. Why do I need what you call a video capture device between my camera and my computer? Can I just plug my camera directly into my computer?
Yeah, a lot of people will say, well, my camera's got HDMI and my laptop's got HDMI. I just plug them in and we're good, right? And what people don't realize is the video ports on your computer are typically always output ports. They're not designed as input ports, and they don't work as input ports. So you need a video capture device to go between the camera and the computer. So there's a few we recommend, and there's, depending on what the camera output is, there's SDI or HDMI. We like the Magewell. Yeah.
They have products. You can go to our website, go to StreamingChurch.tv and look under FAQ. But video capture devices, they go between the camera and the computer. They take that signal and they basically, for lack of better terms, make it turn the magic so that the encoder can recognize what you're sending to them, and then the encoder sends it up to the on-demand or to our servers up there. So you do need either an external video capture device, or if you can get a card or something in your desktop computer, put one of those, what they call them, PCI slots or whatever, in your computer. Those things, and there's different ones out there. The cost can be anywhere from $200 to $500, maybe a little more. There are really cheap USB capture devices, and we don't recommend those, although we do have people that use them.
Yeah,
but it's mostly standard definition and just not a whole lot going on.
Yeah, they can work, but it's probably not an area you want to jump into.
Yeah. USB 3.0. Now, that's a different story. If you can get a device that goes to your USB 3.0, which is obviously much faster than a USB 2.0,
yeah, and that's
Thunderbolt.
So the Magewell device we recommend is a USB 3.0 option as well. So, so you need a video capture device. Right. You need a computer that's going to work. You need an internet connection. I don't know if we're going to talk about that, but I think we are. But that's not next on our list.
It's not next on our list. But live encoders. So, all right, we're doing live encoders. Again, back in the day, the dark ages, Flash Media Live Encoder, not a bad little encoder for its day. Now it is really getting out of date. So, what other live encoder? I want to do streaming. I'm gonna, I guess, need a live encoder. What do I get? How much does it cost? And
right. So the top three that we recommend are vMix, which has really come onto the scene recently and gained a lot of popularity.
They're out of Australia, I think, aren't they?
I think so. Somewhere down under.
Yeah, just go to vmix.com.
Yeah, vmix.com. And then there's Wirecast, which has been around for a long time. And is very well respected and works very well, a little more expensive than the others. And OBS is another that's kind of come a long ways recently.
And OBS, you just go obsproject.com.
Yes.
And that's open source.
Yes, it's called the Open Broadcast System, or Open Broadcast Software.
Yeah, that's what it's called. So with vMix, or even Wirecast, vMix is very reasonable. Free trial for 60 days, and then you can buy it for what? There's
$60.
Several different options.
Right.
One of them $60, I think.
Yeah, the level that would be appropriate for live streaming church would be the $60 range. And if you're going to run a TV studio or something, there's other options, but.
Right. But it's like a little studio even for the $60 one, and Wirecast has a little bit more stuff to it, but that's like a one-time fee of about $500, right, for Wirecast?
Yes.
They have another package too. But OBS is free, so what's the limitations on OBS versus these other ones we just mentioned?
So with the Wirecast and vMix, I would consider in the same class. So you get multiple inputs, multiple camera inputs. You can do lower thirds. You can do, nice transitions between shots and
desktop. Show your desktop.
Yeah, you can show your desktop. You can show pre-recorded movies or videos that are on your desktop.
Right.
You can show those as well. You can take external inputs from other computers. So there's a lot of capability with both vMix and Wirecast. With OBS, you're going to be, and you can send, another key one is you can send out multiple streams.
With vMix or vMix or Wirecast.
Yeah, vMix or Wirecast will let you send, a lot of what's really popular is to stream to Facebook Live as well as to your church website. So with those, you can do that. With OBS, you're going to be constrained to one stream. They don't have that I'm aware of, the lower thirds capability. There may be some ways you can do it.
Don't they have some plugins now or something?
They may, yes. I've not played with it, so
it's been a while.
But I do know that it will only allow one destination to stream to, so that's kind of the chief constraint with it. It will let you play videos that are stored locally, images that are stored locally. You can even share. It kind of got its niche in the world is in the gaming industry, so a lot of people will broadcast their game underway using OBS. So it's got a lot of good desktop share or visibility tools.
And Flash Media Live Encoder is still out there. If you're going to use it with our company, we recommend you use the AAC audio setting, and we won't really get into that, but
Right.
If you have a Mac and you download Flash Media Live Encoder on your Mac, then you will have an AAC audio option. The other option is MP3. We again, if you're going to work with our company, StreamingChurch.tv, you need to use the AAC option, as do of our video player.
Yeah, and the thing about Flash Media Live Encoder is its last update was 3.2, which occurred in 2009, and Adobe is not supporting and not updating it anymore.
Right.
So it's now 8 years since it's had an update, and 8 years in technology years is
56 years in dog years.
Yeah, or more than that. Yeah, it's probably.
Yeah.
So it's starting to show its age and with issues.
Now, there's also hardware encoders, live encoders, that are hardware based. So we're talking about stuff you download on your computer.
Right.
But there's some hardware encoders as well. And some of them, I mean, there's the TriCaster that's been around for ages, which we don't recommend, although there's people
we're
that
a
use
preset
them.
on the TriCaster.
We are a preset on the TriCaster, like we are Wirecast and
And
PMix.
some ministries really do like their TriCaster.
The newer ones probably would work better at least for what we do with our streaming. I mean, you can use the older ones too, but but they're obviously. I mean, we're not saying don't get it. I'm just saying it's not one of the ones that's, as far as hardware, that
We're not passionate about them. They do a great job. They're very expensive.
Yeah.
And they, especially if you have an older one, when this was just getting underway, there was Windows-based streaming formats that they drove towards, and those don't even exist anymore in the streaming world. So,
right.
The newer ones are sure going to have the latest technology with them. Yeah. But yeah, and we had one at our church. And
I remember that.
So while we don't necessarily recommend them, we kind of steer towards. We like the software based one, but we just talked with one of our guests in the past and said he really likes the hardware based. So there's pros and cons each way. But
there are. One of those is Teradek,
another hardware based encoder, yes, and that's a much less expensive option that will actually mount on your camera.
Yeah, it's a little box basically, it mounts on your camera. And so you could use that and not necessarily if you've got your computer going for other things during your service, you could use something like a Teradek. There's other ones out there as well. I think Blackmagic even has some kind of a live encoder that's a hardware-based one now, I think. There's different ones out there popping up left and right. But Teradek has a pretty good reputation. So it's something that you certainly might want to consider going with, and they're somewhere around $500-$600, maybe $800.
Yeah,
$900?
right around that. And they have some competition as well. We can't think of all the competitors off the top of my head, but
we got a company that's after us to kind of use their stuff and promote their stuff. I can't think of their name, but so live encoder, yeah. So it's user preference here. If you have questions about that, email us. We can maybe talk a little more about it. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about. Let's skip down here a little. We've got a lot of questions.
It's number 7. How about that one?
Sure, let's talk about number 7. How much upload speed do I need on my internet? So you want to do streaming video. How much upload speed do I actually have to have, and how can I know that?
Yeah, so this is, I don't know, call it a pet peeve or whatever, but as we talk with a lot of churches, and this is a common thing that'll happen, they'll say, well, they're having issues with streaming, and I say, well, what's your upload? And they go, I've got the 10 megabit per second package, so it's not my upload speed. And I go, okay, well, let's start digging around, and as we dig around, they're paying for the 10 megabit per second upload speed, but when they actually go to test what they're actually getting, is often, I just had this just last week, working with a customer. I said, oh, okay, you get 10 megabits, that's going to work fine. So that's not the issue. Let's go poke at these other things. And the other things weren't the issue. We kind of came back around and so let's test your 10 megabit upload speed. And their 10 megabit upload speed was peaking at around 4 megabits, which would work. But the other issue they have is they would open their Wi-Fi network to the congregation on Sunday. So while they put a few hundred people in there getting on their Wi-Fi, their 4 megabits would go to 400 kilobits per second, and then you're going to have issues.
So first of all, how do you know you want to do a speed test? And there's several options out there. You can open up your browser and do a speed test. We kind of lean towards speedof.me. Doesn't have, I don't think it has Java that you have to load or whatever. And
no Flash, no Java.
Yeah, so speedof.me, speedof.me, but there's speedtest.net.
Yes.
There's other ones out there. Just have to make sure when you
And the key is that people get confused with is like, oh, I've got 100 megabits down, and down really doesn't matter. It's since you're sending the signal out, it's going to be your upload speed.
It's going to have to be upload speed. So what speed do I need to have? What kind of upload speed should I have?
I mean, if we're looking for a single answer, it depends on what you're going to do. But the single simple answer was if you've got 2 megabits per second or more, you're going to be able to stream without any issues at all.
Yeah, usually that's the case.
Right. But there are cases where, I broadcast from a trade show booth over a cell phone signal that was, like 600 kilobits per second, and it looked okay and worked all right as long as I had my 600. So it can be done for less, but we recommend a consistent 2 megabits per second or more. Right. Now, if you're going to be, I mentioned earlier that a lot of people are interested in to stream to Facebook Live and stream into my church website. That means, I'm going to send out 2 streams, so I'm going to double what I need. And we recommend that you have at least twice what you're sending out.
Right. So to clarify this, so you've got your encoder open, your live encoder open. You set your resolution. And with that resolution, there's a bit rate that you usually, on some of the presets they recommend, but you can actually manually change your bit rate. But your bit rate is real important, what you're sending up.
Yes.
And so you can modify that and change that. And normally the higher the resolution, the more of a bit rate you want to make sure you have to kind of go along with that.
Right, to be able to send the larger picture up. And the whole idea behind this is the higher bit rate and the higher resolution, you're going to have a higher quality video stream. So, and some people might think, well, shoot, let's go all the way to the max, and that can work for you if you have the adequate upload speed and all your viewers have adequate download speed.
Right.
So you can get to the point where they can't view what you're sending out at the rate that you're sending it out at.
So how do you go about that? Let's say, hey, I really want to, I'm at my church and I definitely want to stream to, maybe Roku, or I've got these flat screen TVs, different places. I want to have a good quality picture. So I want to send a good quality picture, but you're telling me that if I send it too high, other people on other devices might not be able to get it, might have buffering, might have skipping, might have freezing. How can I get around that?
So what we provide is called adaptive bitrate. And so what that is the video player will automatically detect the network connection of the viewer and will downshift to a slower stream if they can't support the higher quality stream. Okay. So with adaptive bitrate, then you're sending out multiple streams from your facility, so you need to make sure you have the headroom on your upload to be able to send out, all those streams.
You got to have enough. Yeah, you've got to have enough internet speed. Plus, again, getting back to what we said at the very beginning here, your computer is going to work harder.
Right.
So you got to have enough horsepower, so to speak, on your computer.
Right.
So that you're not maxing your CPU out at 98%.
Right.
And wondering why things aren't going well. But, and that's why I was talking earlier about that, because, you can, with our company, it's very easy to stream to Facebook and other places, but you definitely need to have these other things in place to do that. But adaptive bitrate can work really well, and we can certainly help set you up with that. Just let us know if you're interested in that. Okay, so we got just a couple minutes left here. I was going to talk a little bit about audio with streaming video, but we actually have a guest, I think next week, who's going to talk to us about audio with streaming video. So I think we'll save that for next week. But audio is important. You want to really make sure you have good audio.
That's, as you said many a time, and I fully support that. You can live through a bad video experience as long as you can hear people what's going on. But if you have the greatest video and you can't understand what people are saying, you're not going to make it through the whole service.
No, you're going to lose people all the way. So So lots of questions here. People asking about analytics. How do I know who's watching? All that stuff. We actually provide that with our company. We provide some very detailed analytics. And what we got, Steve? We got people like first-time visitors and second-time visitors.
Right. So we got reports showing how long they stay, where they're coming from, whether it's their first time or not.
Yeah.
And so what they're watching, if you're looking at on-demand stuff. So, yeah, there's a lot of
and that's our StreamingChurch.tv platform. Now, there's other platforms out there, but they don't have really those analytics like we have, do they?
Well, I can't speak for all of them, but I know the few that we've checked out. They've they got good analytics, but maybe not as
detailed,
as thorough as we are in some of these analytics. So.
Right. And then we always recommend chat. I mean, our platform has all sorts of options on it. One of those is chat. I know I have people ask me all the time, well, why should I have chat on my platform? Answer?
So, well, our vision or our focus here is to try to replicate the experience of coming to church online, and so it provides the ability for you to minister to the people that are attending online, find out where they're from, what their needs are. They can ask questions. You can pray privately with people. So it invokes
Connects.
a whole more interactive experience, much like when you went to church.
Right.
They'd see that you came and they'd point you to a seat, and if you had wanted to talk to somebody, you can. And
right. Yeah. Well, you're connecting with people.
Right.
And I think, of course, to do that means you need to have a chat host, or you could call them church online pastor, or church online host, or something like that. I personally think it's worth it. And I think that if you make that available to your congregation and say, hey, we're doing streaming video here. Anybody want to help out? You might want to screen a few people, but, let people know that there's people that would be happy to monitor your chat, just to connect with people and make friends, and they'll come back if you do that.
We take the experience very seriously, like your Sunday services, and just in the same way that you would probably want to put an usher in the building and a greeter out front for those that are coming to church. We feel like this is a campus that people are attending,
right,
from all over,
yeah.
And so you'd want to implement some of those same kind of considerations.
Yeah, you want to connect with people, and the bottom line is too. Not only can you help change their life, but if they happen to be local and they're checking you out and they're watching you online, and you strike up a conversation and they respond, it's a good chance they're going to come and visit you
in person
at your actual facility. And connecting with people with chat is a good way to do that. You don't have to do that with us. We one of the things with our deal is it's very customizable, so you can do a lot of things with our platform. Make it look like your church's website, embed it on your church's website, and do all that. Well, look, we're out of time. That went fast. So if you have questions about streaming video or even mobile apps or anything else, we thought we would just do this today as something a little different. By all means, send us an email, support@StreamingChurch.tv. And next week we plan to have a guest that will talk a lot about audio with streaming video, as well as some other things. I think that will be helpful. So we're done. We're out of here. Time is up.
All right. Sounds great.
Folks, thanks for spending a little bit of time with us. He is Steve Lacy. I'm Phil Thompson. And we will catch you next time on another edition of the Church Solutions Podcast. Take care.